Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts. Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you. Choir director, in case you don't know. She's amazing. We love having you with us, Stephanie Bland. Before I introduce our guest speaker, there are a couple of things that I really wanted to say some thank yous. Last night we had our wonderful Trunk and Treat sponsored by the Youth and Family Ministry. We had 37 people open the trunks of their cars and give out sugar to kids, all right? It was great. The pictures were great. And it was a busy weekend. Then on Friday night, I was officially installed as your senior minister. It was great. We had our installation ceremony, and believe me, you do not want your ministers improperly installed. That's not good. And I was so moved, and I didn't have any prepared remarks, and I kind of stood up here, and I saw the people who were part of that, and I thanked them, but there were some people I did not thank that I really wanted to, and I just want to take a moment. Stephanie Foy and her team, Cindy Wolfram and others who did the reception, and it was a beautiful, beautiful event, so thank you for them, our whole team. The whole team who really made that thing happen, and the other people that I didn't see them in front of me, and I forgot to thank them. And the reason I didn't see them in front of me is because they're behind the scenes doing everything, and that is our staff here at Unity of Houston. They were incredible. So thank you to our staff. Just amazing. Do you want to come up here? I'm introducing the amazing, incredible Rev Karen Russo. She is the author of the award-winning Money Keys, Unlocking Peace, Freedom, and Real Financial Power, endorsed by her teachers, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, Catherine Woodard Thomas, and Harv Eker Proctor, T. Harv Eker Proctor. So she is an MBA from Columbia. She's smart. Obviously, she's gorgeous. She knows her stuff. But this is her bio, and she said, don't read all that. What I want to tell you is she is my friend and my prayer partner, and she is my teacher, and she has healed me in the world of my finances. A few years ago, I'd gone through a career change. I had amassed some debt. I was struggling. I'm sure many of you have experienced times like that in your life. I didn't know what to do. Karen and I were at a conference in California. We sat together on a bench overlooking the Pacific Ocean. And she talked to me about the masculine energy and the feminine energy in my finances and how it felt to her like maybe the masculine energy was paralyzed or cut off in some way. And I didn't even know what that meant because I had not yet taken your class, but something rang like a bell in the air between us. I began to cry. Something opened up in me. She gave me some wonderful, here's the thing you need to know about Karen. She has this grounded, incredibly practical approach to seeing God show up in your financial life. On one hand, she is grounded. On the other hand, she is open to the infinite possibility of spiritual reality. She is a New Thought ordained minister. She has so much that she brings. But I will tell you, within 6 months, I was healed, out of debt, completely transformed. My financial advisor says I'm doing good. And I have to tell you, nobody ever said that about my finances before, that is due in large part to the teaching and the consciousness of this woman. Please give her a warm welcome, Karen Russo.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yes. Oh, look at this. Wow. Let's talk. Let's talk about the nature of money, the truth about God, and the power of you. And it's all in service of each of us, you and me, living a sustainable prosperity in a world that needs us at our best. Are you up for that? Yes, you are. Well, yes. And the reason the world needs us at our best is that there's a lot going on that makes it feel like we're not at our best. So I've got an image here of the globe tightening its belt. And that's what it feels like in many ways for many people, is that if you think about the floods and the fires and the war and the violence and what's happening in economies and what's happening in people's personal lives, it can feel like there are big things happening and there's not enough. And whether you have experienced that personally, I would say for everyone in this room, particularly for this community, you're no less than 6 degrees of separation from someone who is facing very serious personal circumstances, yes? Yes. And just know it's common, it's typical to have an emotional reaction when there's a trauma or a loss. It's very natural to pull back and contract. What's interesting about that image of the tightening the belt is it comes from the idea that if you are hungry, like literally hungry, and you tighten your belt, you won't feel as hungry. I mean, it's a really intense emotional idea. And so just know that whether it's you personally or whether it's someone who's close to you, that if it feels like there's not enough, our spirit is squelched. And it feels like we're disconnected from the divine, which is really the worst kind of suffering. What also happens, though, is our creativity really feels crushed down, and especially at a time when innovation is required for the things that are facing us in this world, that can be just very destabilizing. And on a practical level, if we are worried, upset, overwhelmed about money, it's costing us because it's draining our time and energy. And there's a thing called opportunity cost. If we're spending time and energy worried, upset, and overwhelmed about money, it literally costs us the time, energy, and attention we could be investing in something greater. So have I painted a bleak enough picture? Okay, all right, okay, good. Okay, so it's important. It's painful if we feel like we're in lack. And then one of the ideas that can come through is, well, if I don't have enough, then clearly what I need is I need more. But you know what? More can be a myth. You catch it? If the idea is there's not enough money, then the answer becomes, I need to get more money. If that's the problem, well, that's the solution. But something in us knows that there's never going to be enough of that which does not satisfy to solve the real problem. And this can also create what I would call some spiritual ambivalence. So sometimes what happens, you may know someone like Helene. Helene is a heart-centered, holistic healer. And she knows the Course in Miracles and has a teaching on forgiveness. And when I met her and we talked about her money, she said, I feel like the money system is polluted, so I want to stay away from it. Do you catch that? Yeah. And you know what? If the money system is polluted and you stay away from it, that's a high integrity thing. So, if that's what your belief is, then it becomes like a good idea to keep her energy away. But you all also get, too, that if you think you want to keep away from something, and there was a wise man in the bookstore who talked to me about this in between services, if you think you should stay away from it, then it wasn't a surprise that for Helene, her money was a bit of a mess, there was stuff that was unfiled, it was kind of overwhelming, and she wasn't being supported. So what we worked with was creating for her a new money purpose statement. And for hers, it was as simple as money fuels my service. And even that, boom, it changed everything. So that's one of the ideas that I want you to really start to take on, is money, it only means what I say it means. So we're going to take a look at money is neutral, the meaning about money is powerful, and you and I, we're the meaning makers. So try this on. What if money was just neutral? It's just a symbol of how supply and transactions happen. Those digits on the screen or the pieces of paper, they literally do not mean anything except what we agree they mean. Meaning, which is the sum total of thought and emotional reaction and consequence and decision, meaning is really powerful. So we're the ones who decide what the meaning is. We are the meaning makers about our money. So right now we can do a little thought experience. Go ahead and take the money in your own life and think about it, and compare your financial situation to someone you think is doing better. And we can just call this out. What are the thoughts and feelings that might come? Let yourself, there's no right answer. Like I might feel a little inspiration, or I might be even a little envious. What else might come? Yeah. Was that shitty? Did you say that? That's great. So you might have a whole range of thought and feeling. And then, notice what happens if we do the second part. Same money situation, unless you're in some kind of really cool day trading thing and it's changed a lot in 20 seconds, probably not. Most of us are kind of the same. And now compare to someone who you think is doing worse off. And there's, you don't have to go far, right, to someone who is doing worse off. There's 1 billion of our brothers and sisters on this planet who are going to be looking for clean water and a safe place to sleep. And if we compare to that, what feelings and thoughts arise? Yeah, good gratitude, bliss, a sense of want to be of service. So the circumstance didn't change, but our relationship to it did. That's really powerful. So one of the things I just highly recommend is that you take whatever your financial situation is and just try this on. I'm making the meaning about this. It is not determining what I think. Yes? Yeah. All right. So with that, what we have an idea about money, let's talk about the truth about God. And we bring in the idea of spiritual source and material channels. Spiritual source is the living Christ in us. Spiritual source is the unconditional, infinite, eternal, ever-creative nature of God. Our oneness with spiritual source, that's really like our ultimate reality. Material channels are the things of this world that have beginning, middle, and an end. And these are the things where money flows through. So it could be good-looking, generous lover. It could be a secure job, a portfolio, your real estate, your bestseller, your database. Those are the channels of this world. Where we get in trouble is kind of two places. One is if we think the security comes from the channel. So even when it's a good one, a really good-looking, really generous lover, or a super secure job, if we think the security comes from the channel, something in us knows it's not true, so we'll always feel a little bit off. And that's, I think, one of the worst places to be, is like, I'm worried about losing a channel, and deep in my soul, I realize it will never do for me what it can't do. The other place we get in trouble is almost like the other end of it, which is when we think, I'm going to use spiritual principles to go out and get me some good channels. So a few years ago, when The Secret came out, beautiful movie, wonderful spiritual teachers, but if you did a too superficial view of a movie like that, you would think it's all about necklace acquisition. I see a pretty necklace, ooh, I want a pretty necklace. I'm gonna get a pretty necklace, right? The idea that, like, if I just concentrate on a thing, I can somehow pull it in. Now, Mama loves a pretty necklace. We love our material channels, but the right relationship is to be great stewards of material channels, which is what you heard when Jackie talked about her giving to Unity of Houston is from a place of understanding. This ministry is a channel for her spiritual inspiration, for her sense of belonging. She's participating in it. That's right relationship with channels. I was so blessed. I did a lot of my early science of mind teaching and practitioner teaching and ministry with Dr. Michael Beckwith of the Agape Center. And after The Secret came out, when Dr. Michael was traveling around, he said, people are stopping me in airports and they're saying, can I use these spiritual principles to get more profit in my business? And he said, you don't use the Spirit uses you. You catch it? Yeah. And that's, I think, the kind of like the beauty of understanding spiritual source is when you all are singing like, here I am, there's a sense of like, let me surrender to the plenty and then let me bless it through the channels. All right. And I want to tell you something about how powerful you are, which is you're already doing this in some area of your life. So we have an image of an individual who says, I'm going to step into my prosperity now. And already, somewhere in your life, you know you're prosperous. Like there's already some place where you can feel the plenty of the divine and the presence of God is right there with me. So it may be for some of you, you have relationships with your animal companions where you can look into little eyes of that little one and you just absolutely know here's how God shows up. Other people have it around how they are with their food. They just know this is, I see that there's a divine source circulating. Some people will say, I feel abundance in my friendships. So I know that even if friendships come and go, I don't worry that there won't be enough. I'm a good friend, friends come. Wherever you already have a sense, God is here and I enjoy it and I participate in it, you can do that with your money. You catch it? So she's like, yes, you can. And that's the kind of empowerment that I feel like our teaching is really about. It's less about how do I use the principles to get enough of another thing so that I will solve a current day problem and then I'm gonna have to use them again. It's more about let me have an empowered way of living where I'm really bringing this forward. So I'm going to preview a couple of ideas that we'll go deeper with into the workshop that are ways that you can embody prosperity for your life now. So the next is this idea about the masculine and feminine. And I love that Reverend Michael talked about this. Wealth is built through action and awareness. And it's interesting, your talk was the giving and the gratitude is kind of like that. That's sort of a good example of that. Our experience of wealth does come through conscious action. Action is the masculine, it's the giving. So it's things like when Kenneth sang, I decide, that's a masculine energy. And all people, men and women, all have masculine and feminine energy to play with for creation. Also in the masculine is clarity, choice, action, direction. Important for wealth. We get focused when we have that. Also critical for our wealth is receptivity, the feminine, is the qualities of awareness around the wealth and materiality that we do have. So with wealth building through awareness, it's the capacity to have, to feel it, to enjoy it. And if we can't develop the capacity to have something, it's really hard to go out and get more of it. Do y'all catch that? It's a little bit like if one of you went to one of the beautiful Unity teachers after the service and said, please pray for my perfect relationship. And you came up and you said, I really want to meet a beloved. And when I meet that person, then I am going to take really good care of myself and develop more patience. And this beautiful Unity teacher would certainly take a deep breath, and they might give you a tiny bit of coaching and say, oh, honey, don't wait, right? It's like, yeah, we'll pray that in, but if you want to experience self-care and patience, those things, you've got to be able to have that in your own being before something on the outside brings it. So that's why giving and receiving, action and awareness are so critical to really building a sustainable, wealthy experience. And the other piece that came through, so I created the Money Keys Ministry about 10, 12 years ago. I'm an ordained minister. It became clear I would bring some kind of message forward, and I just said, well, let's see, I love God, I love money, how do these things go together? And one of the things I was interested in is I'm very inspired by many of the wonderful, by Eric Butterworth and Edwin Gaines and Diane Harmony and all these other wonderful prosperity teachers. And I was just like a little bit like, what's up now? And here's what I saw. So kind of think back like 2003, 4, 5. I was traveling around and I would go to spiritual centers, Unity, New Thought, Holistic Chambers, and I would find people were very much in high vibration of abundance. And they were praying and doing affirmative prayer, but a little light on habits and tactics and action. And then I would go to those wealth building workshops, get 1,000 people in a ballroom, you've got a millionaire mind, and we would all be gonna be doing some residential real estate stuff, and oh, you went there too, and did you sign up for that tax lien thing? Yeah, I did that, yeah, okay. You're signing up for all these programs, and and it was a lot of tactics and strategies and programs and mindset, how do rich people think? But it was light on the mystical, on the surrender to spirit. So what came through for me was, let's do a model, and you'll see this called the money map. Let's do a framework where it's you in the center, and then there's 3 areas: spirituality, which is our relationship to the transcendent about money and wealth; beliefs, which is thought, emotion, and conversation; and habits, which are our actions and our systems and our information. And just like, if you think about an individual who's got good physical health, they're probably developing strength, endurance, and flexibility. You might be doing different kinds of programs, but those 3 things together create the health. That's what I've seen about having our wealth experience happen through us in an integrated, holistic way, is we want to work on all 3 areas. You catch that? Yes. Yeah. And when you do this, it's a blessing. And it's a blessing in 2 ways. And I think I forgot the quote about you, Rob. We'll go back and do that quote for my beloveds who are working the slides. When we put this together, it's a blessing in 2 ways. One is, we don't diminish anybody else's experience when we have our own experience of the divine. So this is a quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes, and this is from a book called This Thing Called You. And on Friday evening, for those of you that were here at the installation, I did a reading from This Thing Called You, and it was extremely popular. So people have been stopping me. What was that book? So Dr. Ernest Holmes, This Thing Called You, and here's what he said about when you step into your prosperity. You rob no person when you discover your own good. You limit no person when you express a greater degree of livingness. You harm no one by being happy. You steal from no one by being prosperous. You hinder no person's evolution when you consciously enter into the kingdom of your good and possess it today. Do you feel that? Yeah. I think this is one of the pieces that's so important, is that the decision to participate in a spiritual approach to my own money and prosperity, not only is it a blessing to me, but because we are all connected, I'm a better family member, I'm a more generous neighbor, I'm a more active participant in the spiritual community. I'm blessed by my giving, I'm blessed by my own prosperity, and it blesses all. So there's another way that this blesses, is it's an act of self-love for all of us when we participate in a holistic approach. So we've got an affirmation that this came from one of the early Money Keys beloveds, and it's on a glossy $100 bill. And I'll say it first, then we can say it together. I love and respect myself enough to live a financially prosperous and responsible life. Together.
I love and respect myself enough to live a financially prosperous and responsible life.
Do you feel it? Yes. And when you do this, when you choose this through self-love, when you put these principles into action, when you step into giving and receiving in a way that is powerful, you are lifting up the world. I think in many ways that integrating our experience of money and wealth into a wholesome spirituality is this beautiful community raising up the oneness of God and the goodness of people. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.